Hello and welcome to Galaxy TV News. My name is Iribami Salako. We begin with headlines. President Bola Tinubu announces significant leadership changes at several federal universities. These changes are effective immediately. Plus, on the news, House of Representatives Committee on Review of 1999 Constitution announces it received 31 proposals for creation of new states across 6 geopolitical zones. From the international scene, South Korea's National Intelligence Service reports that North Korean soldiers fighting against Ukraine disappear from the battlefield. Details of these and more coming your way soon. Stay with us. Many thanks for joining us at this time. Now details of the news. President Bola Tinubu has announced significant leadership changes at several federal universities, including University of Abuja, now known as Yakubu Gowon University. These changes are effective immediately, according to Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy. The President dissolved the entire Governing Council at the Yakubu Gowon University and relieved Professor Aisha Seni Mekudi of her duties as Vice Chancellor. Senator Larry Tejuosho, currently Pro-Chancellor of the University of Agriculture, Makadi, has been appointed Pro-Chancellor of the Yakubu Gowon University. He will be succeeded in Makadi by Senator Joy Emodi, now Pro-Chancellor of Alvan Ikoku University of Education. To succeed Mekudi, President Tinubu appointed Professor Lar Patricia Manko as acting Vice Chancellor at the Yakubu Gowon University for a 6-month term. She will not be eligible to apply for the substantive Vice Chancellor position when it becomes available. In addition, President Tinubu also removed Professor Polycarp Emeka from his position as acting Vice Chancellor at University of Nigeria, Nsukka, before his tenure ends on February 14. Professor Ogilfoju T. Ujam has been appointed as a successor for 6 months and will not be eligible to apply for the permanent position. The leadership changes at UNN extend to the role of Pro-Chancellor, with General Ike Nwachiku resigned to Pro-Chancellor at the University of Uyo, among other changes. The House of Representatives Committee on Review of the 1999 Constitution announced on Thursday that it has received 31 proposals for creation of new states across 6 geopolitical zones. A letter from the committee on the request was read by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu during the plenary. He outlined the conditions that must be met before any state creation request can be approved. According to the letter, the proposals include 5 from the North Central, 4 from the Northeast, 5 from the Northwest, 5 from the Southeast, 4 from South-South and 7 from the Southwest. Among the states being considered are Okokora and Confluence from Kogi, Benue Alan apart from Benue State, FCT State, Amana Adamawa, Katagum Bauchi, Savannah Borno and Muri Taraba. The states also include New Kaduna State and Gujarat State from Kaduna State, Tiganari from Kano and Kanji from Kebbi State, Etiti and Urashi as the 6th state in the southeast, Adada from Enugu, Olu and Aba from the southeast. They also include Ogoja from Cross River, Warri from Delta, Oriano Bolu from Rivers, Turumbe from Ondo, Ibadan from Oyo, Lagoon from Lagos, and Ogun Ijebu from Ogun, Okiogo Ijesha from Oyo, Ogun, Osun State.
The committee has reviewed the proposals for the creation of new states in accordance with Section 8, Subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. This section outlines specific requirements that must be fulfilled to initiate the process of state creation, which include the following. New state and boundaries. 1. An act of the National Assembly for the purpose of creating a new state shall only be passed if a request supported by at least 2/3 majority of members representing the area demanding the creation of the new state in each of the following, namely the Senate and the House of Representatives, the House of Assembly in respect of the area, and the local government council in respect of the area.
Still with the growing chambers, the House of Representatives has called on federal government to immediately alter the investment processes by Shell, TotalEnergies and other international oil companies (IOCs) until their environmental and social liabilities to host communities are fully addressed. It also mandated that no divestment should proceed without transparent consultation from Niger Delta communities and state government. Correspondent Nabuchi Nabuchi completes the story.
Adopting a motion of urgent public importance by the Minority Leader, Honorable Kingsley Chinda, the House instructed the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to enforce compliance with Petroleum Industry Act. Additionally, the House called for the creation of an Environmental Restoration Fund financed by the IOCs to address the estimated $100 billion in damages identified by the UNEP and the Bayelsa State Commission.
The Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission has rejected Shell's divestment application, citing failure to address environmental liabilities and concerns about the capacity of the Renaissance Consortium to manage the assets effectively. The House is also aware that past divestment by IOCs, such as Shell's sale of assets to Nembe to Aleto, ExxonMobil's transfer and ENI Ajib's sale to Oando have left communities with unresolved pollution, worsened environmental degradation and increased social unrest.
The House also urged the Attorney General of the Federation to propose amendments to existing laws to impose stricter penalties, including life imprisonment for those involved in production and importation of fake drugs, as well as hefty fines for businesses dealing in counterfeit goods. Adopting a motion moved by Honorable Mukhtar Shagaya on the urgent need to address the proliferation of fake and substandard goods, drugs and food in Nigeria, the House urged the federal government to strengthen regulatory agencies such as NAFDAC and the Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, and the Nigerian Customs Service for effective performance. It emphasized the need for increased funding, modern equipment, and advanced technology to enhance surveillance, defect detection, and enforcement. The House also called for the establishment of a special task force comprising security agencies, regulatory bodies, and the judiciary to fast-track investigation and prosecution of individuals and businesses engaging in counterfeiting.
The House is concerned that Nigeria suffers economic losses of approximately 15 trillion naira annually due to counterfeit and substandard goods as reported by the Standards Organization of Nigeria. The unchecked proliferation of fake products not only jeopardizes consumer safety but also discourages genuine investment in the food and pharmaceuticals industries.
President Bola Tinubu wrote to the National Assembly to increase the 2025 budget. And now we have Dr. Joseph Fefe, an economist, Department of Economics, Benue State University, Makurdi, joining us to analyze what took place at the National Assembly yesterday. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
All right, so President Bola Tinubu presented 2025 budget proposal of 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira to members of the National Assembly. What's your take on this with an increase of 4.5 trillion naira?
Thank you very much. You see, as you have rightly observed yesterday, the President wrote a letter to the National Assembly increasing the budget from 49.7 trillion to 54.2 trillion, citing a proposed revenue increase from FIRS for 1.4 trillion, customs 1.2 trillion, and then 1.8 trillion from government-owned agencies. Now, if you look at the previous presentation, you will understand that debt service alone took 16 trillion, and then recurrent expenditure 14.12, capital expenditure just 14 trillion. Now, the deficit for that budget was is as proposed is 13.3 trillion. Now, the budget assumes, among other things, that inflation rate will be put at 15%. If this is anything to go by, even though it looks very unrealistic, then if you are fighting inflation, then simple economics says that increasing budgetary expenditure or expenditure pattern generally will rise the cost of goods and services by so much money being in circulation within the economy. Now, if you see that you have had an increment of 4.53 trillion as it is from that proposal, I think the right thing for the president to do is to rechannel that money to either curtail the deficit that has already been proposed, to do something different from what now has been done, because this will now be an affront to the projected inflationary rate, and which is already causing high cost of living within the economy. If this is something to now do by the president, if that assembly ends up passing up this bill, of course, the argument is that they want to diversify the economy from oil to solid minerals, which is taking the chunk of this this money of 1 trillion. It has been said that to improve food security, 1.5 trillion is going to go to Bank of Agriculture for recapitalization, and then Bank of Industry 500 billion. But I think budgets are made based on the fact that performance of previous budget will guide how other budgets are formed from MTF and so on. I don't know how much of the performance that the previous budget has done that you're having almost 100% increment over it as at 28.7 trillion that was budgeted for 2024. Now, being that as it may, you still know that struggling with presenting budget proposals in February, when the budget year had already begun on the 1st of January, is something that seems to be absurd to some extent. But that is what the president thinks. But what we think is that this is going to be an affront on fiscal processes of Nigeria, and it will not augur well with the economy in terms of trying to push this money into the economy in terms of solid minerals. The budget of 49.7 trillion can take care of this. Instead of managing the deficit that we have, I think it's better that we channel this money to supplement for the deficit that we already have in total of 13.3 trillion, and then put our efforts towards managing effectively the resources that we have at our disposal. Once you have commitment to that process and stop corruption, and then judiciously put this money into the rich sector, and then production starts carefully within this country, we are going to have good for it than just pushing money to the economy because money comes into the coffers of government.
All right, so as an economist, are you concerned that the budget is not yet operational as at 7th of February 2025? Will it have any effect on economic growth and development? You would be worried about that.
It's very worrisome. Every other, not just economists, every other person should be worried at this development. Nigeria is supposed to be the giant of Africa. Nigeria is supposed to be the largest economy in Africa, even though we have been pushed to a fifth position. But to regain this position, we must get things right. Budget is a process of for 1 year. The cycle is 1 year. And Nigeria should know that a budget year is supposed to begin on the 1st of January. You don't have to wait until the end of the year to start making budget processes, because they will be hurriedly passed. Assembly will not make the right inputs. People will not be called upon for public hearing. They will not make the right inputs. So it would end up being a wasteful exercise. And then government will just go away with it, and our democracy is becoming more expensive every other day. Increasing cost of governance every other day is causing a lot of problems for the economy. It is a concern for everybody. This will not happen in any sense society anywhere where you are having a budget. So now, yesterday, they will say federal government, Federal Executive Council has approved this number of roads for this social amount of money. So what budget is being, what expenditure is being carried out? Which kind of budget? Is it the 2024? Then if the budget year for 2024 had not been completed, then government should be questioned as to why that is so. But to allow a budget proposal and an increment again to come in February of a fiscal year is something that is very absurd and should be certainly discouraged. It's not good for this country. We cannot grow with this kind of tendency. We cannot grow with this kind of attitude towards handling economy and handling governance generally.
All right, we thank you so much for being part of our news at this time. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's Dr. Joseph Fefa, an economist who joined us live from Benue State. Now, moving on to other stories. Workers at the Institute of Agricultural Research and Training, Ibadan, have protested the non-payment of the December and January salaries. The aggrieved workers took their grievance to the doorstep of the school's management and lamented their socio-economic condition, which they described as pitiable. They want the school's management and indeed all concerned stakeholders to do the needful before the situation gets out of hand.
I want to start by saying that IR&T is one of the federal government's blessings. That if federal government wants to count, should count twice. We have personnel that are dedicated, and it is unspeakable that today we are expressing our hurt for the failure to have been paid our December salaries for whatever reason possible.
As we suffered, we went through a black Christmas, black New Year. No money to buy food in the house, no money to buy drugs for our elderly people, and rather we ourselves, we travel from home to the work. And this suffering is too much, so we have to go out and tell the management to inform the federal government that we are suffering, that this suffering is enough.
They told us that because Nigeria increased the salary, the wages of the Nigeria workers, that is the reason why we now have low money in our purse in December, and that is the reason why they could not be able to pay our salary. But from our findings, are we the only institute that were paid minimum wage to in last year? We are not the only institute.
I do understand and share the pains and frustration of the staff. However, they are correct that they have not been paid for December and for January. But we've done all we could, and the ministry, they're also working on it. It was an omission for the December salary. The January were still open, and we're sure that we're going to receive it. It's an omission, and the ministry is working on it.
You're still on to the news on Galaxy TV. Let's go on a break. When we come back, the news continues. To stay with us.